What are we fighting for, brothers? We're fighting for a righteous world. 2 Peter 3:13. We're fighting for a world of total righteousness. We're fighting for a world where we're going to be exalted, where we're going to be lauded, where we're going to be praised as the people of the Most High, as the Israelites, as the elect of the nation of Israel. Think about that, man. The elect of the nation of Israel, part of the 144,000. Think about that. Huh? That alone should inspire you. There's even a song, man, oh, when the saints come marching in. We're those saints that's going to come marching in. Oh, I want to be in that number. We're in that number. We believe that according to faith. Come on, brothers.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful, like the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Hashem Al Shai. All right, and I want to go into a lesson dealing with how the Bible is against oligarchs. Okay, and we talk about oligarchs. Well, these are the people, all right, that rule the planet Earth. Okay, these small families. All right, because you go into the word oligarch. Okay, it goes into arc. That's why you have the patriarch, all right, which is, Patar is the father of the male. So a patriarch is the rule of the fathers. Okay, just like a matriarch, which is Matar, all right. Then arc goes in the rule is the rule of women, the mothers. Okay, a matriarch, all right. Then you have what you call an oligarch, all right. Well, oli goes into few, arc, all right, rule of the few. So you got this term oligarch, okay, which represents, the rule of a few. And the planet Earth is ruled by a few wicked Edomite families, man. Okay, they have the most wealth, power, and influence. All right. And with that, they've created a very wicked and toxic, destructive environment in the planet Earth, man. Okay. Here it is, all this technology and convenience that the devil, has within this kingdom. Okay. But wealth distribution is at an all-time low. Okay. And it's done intentionally, man. Okay. Violence is at an all-time high. Okay. Poverty is at an all-time high. Sickness is at an all-time high. Okay. depression, suicide, all these things are all-time high. Okay, and this is the result of a wicked oligarchy that's ruling the earth, man. All right, which are you Edomites, and of you Edomites is Amalek, all right, which are the chief families of the earth. And the Bible is against the oligarchy because it's wicked. Okay, the Bible is against oligarchies because they're wicked, man, by nature. Okay, to where the the interests of a few matter above, all right, the interests of the rest. You see, it's a very uneven, unbalanced way to rule the earth, man. And that's why you see everything is thrown off course, man. The earth has an Edomite problem. Okay, people, argue in circles about this and about that. But just to get plain to the chase, the earth has an Edomite problem, man. Okay, the earth is being ran poorly by wicked men. Okay, and that's why the Lord is raising his sons. Okay, and getting ready to restore his sons. Okay, to rulership. But first we have to be humble, and then we have to have appreciation for righteousness, man. And this captivity has done it. It has humbled us down, and we have developed what the scripture say, a thirst for righteousness. Okay, so when you read this Proverbs 29:2, it says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, because justice goes forth, equity." Okay, you see, Esau has gotten people to look at the Bible as restrictive, oppressive. No, the Bible, all right, is about righteousness, man. You see, the Bible is about equity. The Bible is about life. This is the book of life, man. You know, this Bible is the instructions of how to govern life. You see, but Esau with his his propaganda, okay, his demonization, okay, because on one hand, he's this big Christian. On the other hand, all right, the Bible is restrictive. Okay, the Bible is in the way of liberty. Okay, because he's a damn hypocrite. All right, but what the earth is another thing too. The planet Earth is going to appreciate a righteous rulership. This is another thing that Esau, Edom's rulership is doing, is making the earth, is getting the earth ready to appreciate a righteous rulership, because it's going to be night and day. That's why scriptures say our enemy shall be found liars unto thee. Okay, because this man lied to everyone about everything. Okay, and he's so deceptive. He has people thinking that, they made progress, by living outside of the Bible. Okay, the righteousness of the scriptures with that they made some type of progress, man, which is a damn lie. Okay, he said, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Okay, and the earth is in a terrible condition, man. All right, that's why the scriptures say at the end, what would it be? Nothing but uproars amongst the people. Okay, when people are protesting and this and that, and you know, you got the farmers protesting, tractors, you have the tractor, all in the city, in France, and the different, Germany, farmers are catching hell. Okay, the farmers here are catching hell. They're being paid to destroy their crops, man. It's just, and it's just all over the place, man. Everyone's complaining, and the source of the complaint is Esau, Edom. Okay, and these wicked oligarchs that run the earth, man. You know, from the biggest complaint to the smallest complaint, they're the source of it, man. All right, so the earth is in a state of mourning, even the earth itself, man. The environment. Okay, the animals, everything is in a state of mourning under the rulership of this wicked, all right, Edomite system, man. Okay, so let's go from here, because it was always intended for us to be the judges of the earth, man. But we fail from their responsibility, man. And the Lord is showing us how serious it is. The Lord is showing us, his sons, how serious it is for righteousness all right, to rule the earth, man. All right, we took this thing light. We took light of this thing. Okay, and now we're living in the consequences of us taking rulership light. You see, a complete nightmare now. Now we get it. Now we're getting it more and more because we're still learning to do, but now we're getting it, man. Okay, so you go to let's go to Deuteronomy because it was always meant. Okay, let's go here. Now this is Moses addressing, the men of Israel. All right, so you go to let's get this in the AMP. All right, it was always meant for us. All right, to be the righteous standard in the earth. This is why we was given the breath. All right, the law, statutes, and commandments. Why Adam was given the breath. Okay, matter of fact, let's get that. We always get it, and then we'll jump to Deuteronomy. All right, but from the beginning, okay, Adam. Okay, all right. So when you go here, Genesis 2:7, all right, because Adam was what? The son of God. All right, he was the progenitor of the lineage of the sons of God. Trickling all the way down to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which would become Israelites. All right, Jacob's name will be changed to Israel. Hence, you get Israelites. Yasha'al, Prince of the Power. Okay, so this is Genesis 2:7. It says, "And the Lord power formed, all right, man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life." Okay, and the man became a living being, an individual, complete in body and spirit. Now, this is in the AMP. Okay, so the Lord breathed a spirit of understanding, law, statutes, and commandments, and wisdom into Adam. Okay, and why did he do it? Okay, because it was Adam's responsibility to govern the earth in righteousness. Okay, so when you go to Genesis 2:15, so the Lord power took the man he made and settled him in the garden of Eden to cultivate it and to keep it. Okay, and he was supposed to cultivate the earth in righteousness, man. All right, he wasn't just you see, he wasn't just going around trimming lilies, pruning apple trees. Okay, he was a ruler, man. Okay, and it was meant for him to rule in righteousness, which will cultivate righteousness in the earth, man. Okay, Adam was given that breath with great responsibility. You see, so when you go into let's go here. Get this word to keep. Okay, to keep in the Hebrew, which is shamar. Okay, and it said what? To keep, to guard, to observe, to give heed. All right, to guard, to keep watch and ward, to protect and save life. All right, to have charge of. So Adam was put in charge. He was given that breath to be put in charge over creation, man. Okay, that's why he was given that breath. So it was always intended, okay, for righteousness to reign in the earth. Okay, but it's through the serpent, their wickedness through serpent, Eve. Okay, and then Eve brought it to Adam, and eventually wickedness took hold in the earth, and it's been on a downward spiral since then. Okay, now everything is coming full circle. Okay, to where the Lord is going to restore righteousness to the earth forever. Okay, this is why we've received that breath in the latter end, because the Lord is, all right, cultivating us to be righteous judges with Yahushua. Okay, and that was the Lord's intent from the beginning. So now you go here to Deuteronomy, all right, chapter 1, and let's jump down to 16. Now this is Moses addressing the men of Israel, and it said, Deuteronomy 1:16. Then I commanded your judges at that time, saying, hear the matters between your brothers, your fellow countrymen, and judge righteously and fairly between a man and his brother and the stranger, the Israelite foreigner, who is with him. Okay? So Moses appointed, righteous judges, because, one time Moses was judging the whole nation himself, hearing the affairs of the people. He was doing it himself. All right. But his father-in-law, Jethro, taught him about delegation, how to delegate, all right, authority amongst trustworthy men. Okay. See, us as a people, it was all about appointing men of integrity and honesty. All right. To be judges, man. Okay. To judge fairly, you see, amongst one another. And ultimately, we were supposed to be judges over the earth, man, in righteousness. Okay. But now it's getting ready to come back. All right. It's going to be established forever under Yahweh Shai. Deuteronomy 1:17. You shall not show partiality in judgment. You shall hear and pay attention to the cases of the least important as well as the great. Okay. So this was a law that was against what? Respect of person. A person's status had nothing to do with judgment. Okay, which in this society is the complete opposite, man. If you have the resources and the wealth and the connections, you can get away with anything. You can do what you want. Might makes right. Okay, in this wicked kingdom. You see, it's the complete opposite of the righteousness that the Lord intended the earth to be under, man. Okay, but it's necessary for us to be refined. We had to go through this phase, this temporal. Okay, this is a temporal phase of a wicked rulership, for us to be refined, okay, in righteousness, man, the sons of God. Okay, so it didn't matter, what your status was. You would be, judgment will go forth. Okay, and it worked both ways. It says, you shall hear and pay attention to the cases of the least important as well as the great. You shall not fear man, for the judgment is the Most High's. The case, all right, that is too hard for you to judge, you shall bring to me, and I will hear. So bring it to Moses, if it was something that, was too hard for them to judge, well, those, all right, cases were judged directly by Moses. Okay. So going back, let's go here to Deuteronomy 16. But it was set up on equity, man, righteous judgment, man, status and wealth. All right, then determine the outcome. It was according to righteousness, man. You see, and it was the same all across the board from the least to greatest. Okay, Deuteronomy 16:18, it says, you shall appoint judges and officers in all your cities, which the Lord your power is giving you, according to your tribes, and they shall judge the people with righteous judgment. You shall not distort judgment, you shall not be partial, and you shall not take a bribe. Okay? And this society is all about bribes, man. Okay? From the top to the bottom, whether, you're just this local, criminal with money, and you can buy the judge, you can buy the DA, and you see, you can buy all certain people, certain officials, okay? Or whether you're the elites and you can buy off whole governments, okay, and just do what you want. All right, completely wicked. It said, you shall not distort justice, you shall not be partial. Okay? And it said you should not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts, all right, the words of the righteous man. You're not taking the gift, as the scriptures say. Okay? You shall pursue justice and only justice, that which is uncompromisingly righteous, so that you may live and take possession of the land which the Lord your power is giving you, man. So before, we came into the land and the Lord would set us up in sovereignty, okay, We had to learn to judge righteously amongst ourselves, before we would be judges over the earth. Okay? Before, your King David and King Solomon, that golden age of Israel, where we had to learn to judge righteously among ourselves, man. Okay? And the Lord has us in the same position today. All right. So this time when we're established, because we're going to be changed before, we're established in that land. We're going to be perfected. You see, under the first covenant, we didn't reach our perfection. You see, but now we're going to be perfected before we go to the land. But even when you go here, that 1 Corinthians 6, let me see. Let's go here. 1 Corinthians 6:1. Okay. Because we're being prepared to be judges again. You see, but we're learning righteousness amongst each other first, before we set as judges over the world. 1 Corinthians 6:1, dare any of you having a matter against another go to law before the unjust and not before the saints? Now this was the church of Corinth, which you had church members, suing one another, man. Taking each other to court amongst, the heathen. Okay. So Apostle Paul is like, look, y'all are tripping. Okay. So he's writing this epistle. All right. And then in this portion of it, he's addressing, believers, fellow believers taking each other to, the courts of the heathen. Okay. Verse 2 said, do you not know that the saints shall judge the world? And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters, man? And the saints are the Israelites. Okay. The rightful judges of the world, okay, are Israelites, man. You see? So the Apostle Paul, like, look, if you're going to be judges of the world, man, you should start off by judging matters amongst yourself, man. And that's why the Lord has us now, judging amongst, each other. Okay? The Lord has us judging amongst each other. All right? We're rehearsing the righteous acts amongst each other. And we're being cultivated as righteous judges. That's going to be joint heirs with Yahweh when he returns. Okay? And we have a live case study of a wicked judge, which is Esau Edom. Okay? So let's go from there. I want to go here. So when you go into Isaiah 5:8, all right, because this is what we're going to harp on. Because at this time, all right, Jake was being wicked. Jake was, you had the rich amongst Jake that started, they started living like the heathen, man. Jake would, once our people got turned out by the heathen, man, the wealthy amongst our people began to imitate the wealthy amongst the heathen. They started to go on power grabs. And Jake got, because even during the time of Yahweh, the Sanhedrin, all right, the chief priest, the high priest, okay, they was pretty much an oligarch. The priesthood had turned into an oligarch, man, where only a few elite families were prospering, and everyone else was finished. Okay, so during the time of Yahweh, the priesthood, them niggas was pretty much an oligarch, man, especially the Sadducees, man. You look up the Sadducees and how them niggas was living, man. Them niggas was a down oligarch, man. And then you had to have certain status to even be a Sadducee, man. You had to have a certain, amount of wealth, come from certain families. Okay. So them niggas were operating like those Romans, man. That's why Howard Shah said, you are your father, the devil, man. The lust of your father, you should do, man. The niggas got power hungry, man. That's why they looked at Yahweh Shai as such a threat, because them niggas had started, mimicking the Romans, man. The Roman elite class, man. Jake started having his ambitious like goddamn Roman nobles, man. You know. So let's go here. This Isaiah 5:8. It says, "Woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth, man." You know, and also, all right, you had these devils. Um, but you go into this time dealing with Jake. All right, Jake has started to begin to accumulate all the lands, all the inheritance, okay, and they started to concentrate all the wealth into a small section of rich, all right, Israelites, man. You know, they had started to form an elite class, you know, where wealth would start to be hoarded amongst, all right, the wealthy, okay, and the Bible was against it. The Bible is not against wealth, okay, but the Bible is against, all right, this wealth accumulation to the point to where you begin to take away, you see, from the equity of the rest of the nation, man. You know, and then also, you know, even to daytime, he hoards up so much wealth, and then he just stack people up, you know, in these apartments while this man owns, you know, millions and millions of acres, okay, but he stack everyone up in these overcrowded cities, man. You know, but let's go into. I got pulled it up in the chat real quick. All right, so I asked the chat, you know, could Isaiah 5:8 be associated to a tactic used by oligarchs? It says yes. It says the book of Isaiah 5:8 can certainly be interpreted as describing a tactic often associated with oligarchic behavior. The verse says, paraphrase, woe to those who join house to house and field to field until there is no more room, and you live alone in the land. In Isaiah's time, 8th century BCE, this likely referred to wealthy landowners in Judah consolidating land by buying out all small farms, for foreclosing on debts, and absorbing family inheritance plots. This practice violated the spirit of the Israelite law, which emphasized family and land inheritance, jubilee, which is restoration, all right, Leviticus 25, and economic limits on permanent land loss. Isaiah condemns land manipulation that displaces ordinary people. Okay? So they buying up so much, you know, that there's nowhere for Jake to go because they're buying and they're just absorbing all the land, the farms, the resources. Okay? So they was running the monopoly, man. Jake was doing that, you know, during this time, what is it, the 8th century? So like what? Yeah, 8th century BCE. Okay, so that was before the Babylonians even came fully into power, man. You know, when Jake was on it. All right, it says an oligarchy is rule or dominance by a small elite group, often marked by concentration of wealth, control of the land resources, political influence, protecting that concentration. The tactic described in Isaiah 5:8, accumulating property until others are pushed out, resembles modern real estate consolidation, corporate land grabs, monopolistic, all right? Oh, yeah, yeah. Monopolistic expansion, you know, monopoly, wealth driven displacement, gentrification, all right, enclosure, etc. Okay. And this is what you see today. You know, you keep hearing this, what they call BlackRock. You know, BlackRock is buying all the houses and, you know, all the real estate, okay, in America. And most people are now being forced to rent because they're making buying a house unaffordable. Okay. And they're buying up all the houses. Okay. Well, you have to rent from them. They're intentionally making it to where housing is not affordable. So they want everyone to be forever renters. Okay. Because true wealth is ownership. All right. And Esau, Edom, that's why even the New World Order is what? You will own nothing and be happy. Okay. So they want to turn the earth, into, what you call it, to like you're renting to live. They want to make the planet Earth a place where you just come your whole life. You're just renting your life from them. This is how wicked this nigga done got with it. He's taking it to a level nobody has ever taken it to, man, with this technology, man. And the Lord's against it. All right. Now, um, so I asked, is the Bible against oligarchs and more for equity and wealth, biblical laws and precepts to explain? So it said that's a thoughtful and nuanced question. It said the Bible does not present a modern economic system, all right, which the economic system of the Bible is an agrarian system, okay, which is a economy that's based off agriculture, man, and it's much easier for people, all right, to be self-sufficient in the agrarian society than the industrial commercial society, all right, where you have to depend on this man, paper currency, okay, to live, to survive. Okay, when people were surviving off raw resources, with the knowledge and skill, to work the land, building, hunting, farming, all right, the essential skill set that people would need to live. Okay, but this devil has stripped people from those essential skill sets of living, all right, and has given them a system to where they have to trade their labor in. Okay, they have to come skillful in his industry, all right, and trade their labor for currency, and then go trade their currency for essentials, all right, from his corporations. Okay, so the economic system of the Bible was an agrarian system where it was much easier for people to be self-sufficient. Okay, where children was an asset and not a liability. Okay, it says, but it consistently resists extreme wealth concentration, exploitation, and elite domination. And it promotes justice, protection, and vulnerable and limits on permanent inequality, man. Okay? So the Bible was a book of righteousness, man. A book of fairness, man. Okay? It says structural limits on wealth and concentration. It said land cannot be permanently consolidated. In the book of Leviticus 25, the Jubilee law, every 50th year, land returned to its original family. Israelites could sell land only temporarily. The theological reason the land is mine, the Most High is the ultimate owner. Okay? Because the rules are supposed to be the stewards of the earth. You know? See, Esau pushes as a ruler, all right, is if you're, okay, the owner of everything. Okay, Esau pushes, a ruler as someone that's being, all right, a owner instead of a steward. Okay, when really the Lord puts, the Lord, because we're the sons of God are the rightful ruler. Just like we went into Genesis, and Adam was given the breath to what? To protect and to save life. So his rulership, he was serving, all right, creation to protect it and to save it and to maintain it. Okay. So in the kingdom, we're going to have lands and substance and particular things, but ultimately we're stewards. Okay. We're here to maintain life in the earth and forward life in the earth and righteousness, man, and judge the affairs of the world with righteous judgment, man. Okay. It said this prevented permanent land monopolies, the exact behavior condemned in the book of Isaiah 5 and 8. It said debt release in the book of Deuteronomy 15, debt was canceled every 7 years, man. So with systems in place to do resets to where, families, all right, could have a chance to create wealth, to get their lands back, create substance, create an inheritance to pass down, man. Okay, he said lending was encouraged without hard-heartedness. Poverty was not to become permanent or generational. This prevented creditors, all right, creditor elites from locking people into permanent dependency, man. And that's what this devil wants to do with this new world order, man. He wants to lock people into permanent dependency on a whole nother level. Okay, he already has the masses dependent on his currency, man, which is a scam. Okay, whole money system is a scam. He already has people dependent on that. Okay, but he wants to take this to another level and merge you with this technology so you can be more dependent, a permanent state of dependency, man. Okay, it said gleaning laws in the book of Leviticus 19:9-10. It said landowners must leave part of their fields for the poor. Private property rights are limited by social responsibility. Okay, so you had certain, welfare where you wouldn't, uh, uh, uh glean your fields. You wouldn't take. All right, you will leave, fields, part of the fields for the poor. So there was like a natural welfare system. Okay, and it says this enforces wealth redistribution at the point of production, man. So the law just has so many built-in systems, all right, for wealth distribution, wealth redistribution, man. Okay, so won't nobody just be through. You always gonna have, people that's gonna have more than others. The Bible is not against people having more than other people. Okay, well, the Bible does put more responsibility on those with wealth. Okay, to be good stewards of their wealth. Okay, because it's only so much wealth that a person needs. There's only so much wealth that a family needs, man. Okay, this is another thing, as we're learning righteousness, man. When you really look at wealth, and you're not, just because the scripture say the eye is not satisfied with seeing, and that's someone that's operating in the flesh. When you're in the flesh, is never enough. Okay, but when you're in the spirit teaches moderation. The spirit teaches consideration, man. Okay, the spirit is not threatened. See, and you in the flesh, you're threatened by, someone else's prosperity because you feel, and that's what creates that competition. That's another thing. The flesh creates competition, man. Well, you in the spirit, man. You're not in competition, man. Okay, you in the spirit, you learn moderation, you learn consideration for others. Okay, you see, you become more nation minded, not individual minded. See, the flesh is thinking of an individual. You see, but in the spirit, you think of the well being of the whole, man. You see, and these are the things that we're learning in the spirit, man. Okay, and it says prophetic critique and elite exploitation. Said the prophets repeatedly condemn ruling elites and wealthy landowners when they oppress the poor, manipulate courts, seize land, and exploit debt. Okay, examples. All right. Book of Amos 5, verses 11 through 12 condemns trampling the poor in unjust courts. Okay. Book of Micah 2:1 condemns those who seize fields and houses. All right. Book of Isaiah 10:2 condemn unjust decrees benefiting the elites. Okay. And this is how this system is ran. This wicked, all right, oligarchy of Esau, man. And the Lord's against this, man. Okay. And I just want to go into that a little bit. Let's go back. Let's go here. And this is why, the Lord is refining, righteous judges in these latter days, man. You know, let's go here. Because you go to Isaiah chapter 1. It pretty sums up us, as a people, how we went away from, the time of Moses when there was righteous, leadership, okay, until us becoming corrupt, but then the Lord beginning to restore us again. Okay. This is Isaiah 1:21. It says, how is the faithful city, okay, becoming harlot? Okay. Now the faithful city is Jerusalem, speaking of the people. Okay. Israel, and this is speaking to the leaders. Okay, because idolatry began with the leadership. When our people would go heavy into idolatry, well, it would come from the idolatry of the leaders. You know, it will be the leadership that will go into idolatry, man. Okay, and then it will become what the standard amongst Jake, and we will fall off, man. Okay, and idolatry made us degenerate and displeasing to our power, man. Okay, and it said it was full of judgment. Righteousness lies in it, but now murderers, man. So we went from a people that had what righteous judges, righteous leadership. Okay, leadership that feared Yahweh by Shema Shai. They're judged with equity, man. It says thy silver is become dross, thy wine mixed with water. Okay, yeah, watered down. Silver is something that's a precious metal. Dross is something that's unwanted. Okay, it's something that's worthless, man. You see, so we went from something precious as a people to something that's unwanted. Okay, thy wine was mixed with water, watered down, man, because we had a righteous doctrine, man. Okay, we had a righteous system of government, man, but it became watered down, okay, by poor leadership. And it's going to address it, verse 23. Thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gift and followeth after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither doth they cause the cause of the widow come unto them. Okay, why? Because they begin to judge among themselves. All right. Now, you go into this time when Jake is into this idolatry, man. During the time of Isaiah, Jeremiah, okay, and Jake would be heavy into idolatry, man. It says, thy princes, thy rulers, all right, and companions of thieves, man. Okay, it says thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. So they're rebelling against what? Their right way. It said everyone loveth gifts. And Deuteronomy it just said what? All right, do not take a bribe or a gift. Okay? Because a bribe or a gift destroys righteous judgment, man. It corrupts righteous judgment. But now they said they follow after the reward. They judge just for the reward. Okay? And they're not concerned about the vulnerable of the society because the leadership started to feed themselves. They started to use that office just like Esau uses his office to what? Feed his own belly, man, to feed his own agenda. Neither doth the cause of the widow come unto them. Therefore said the Lord of hosts, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of my adversary and avenge me of my enemies, man. And that's why the Lord's going to do a major reset. Okay? Hey, the Lord's going to do a major reset in the earth, man. Beginning with Esau. Okay, these heathens, 2/3. Okay, major judgment finna go forth. Righteous judgment finna go forth, man. Okay, because Yahweh Shai, he's coming to establish a righteous government in the earth, man. And he's finna clear out the old, this current world order, Esau's new world order he's trying to pull off. Yahweh Shai is coming to wreck all that, man. Okay, he's coming to shut down shop on all that, man. Okay, the wicked amongst our people, these sellouts who influence our people, okay, to be rebellious. All this finna be cleared out when the judgment go forth, man. Verse 25, and I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. Okay, so the Lord's finna purge away that dross. He's going to purge away the 2/3. And also, if we of the elect, the Lord is purging away that dross that's in us. Those unwanted qualities that have been cultivated from this world. Okay, the things that this age, the world of Esau, cultivated in us, man. Okay, those unwanted qualities. Well, the Lord is purging us from that, man. That's why we go through what we go through. That's why we're being refined. Okay, that's why we're, that's why we're the tail of this society, man. You know, that's why we're in such a low state. The Lord is refining us in this low condition, man, in this affliction. You know, we're being refined. Okay, we're being purged. Okay. Verse 26, it says, and I will restore thy judges as at the first. You see that? Okay. So the Lord is, purging us from, these unwanted qualities, and he's restoring to us the right way, you know, and we're rehearsing these things amongst one another, righteous judgment, man. It says, and thy counsel is at the beginning, afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Okay. So now a righteous government is getting ready to be restored to the earth, man. And that's what the earth needs, man, a righteous government. Okay? Ain't nothing gonna fix this system within the system. No, it just needs a new government, man. Okay? It says Zion will be redeemed with judgment and her converts with righteousness. Okay? Zion will be redeemed with judgment and her converts with righteousness, man. Okay? So there's a remnant that's being converted to righteousness because the Lord is going to establish righteousness in the earth forever, man. The earth will never experience a wicked government, a wicked rulership again. Okay, so this is beautiful times, man. The Lord has brought everything full circle, man, and we right here, and the Lord's allowing us to be a part of this, man. You know, so that's the point. Just wanted to get into that, Lord will. You brothers. All right, and you sisters edified. Till next time, I say shalom. Kwam Yashala, Bob soon. Shalom.